With me to discuss the Golden State Warriors is Thomas Banks. How long have you been a fan of the Warriors?
I've been a fan of the Warriors since they had Tim Hardaway. This was back in the early 90s, 80s, late 80s or something, early 90s. They had Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond. I was a big fan of them three, especially Tim Hardaway. He came out with UTEP. Been a fan ever since then. I think they were in that era where it was Jordan's era. So you didn't really get a chance to see them, be the best version of themselves. But I've been a fan of them ever since then. And then when Baron Davis went there, I became a fan. So I've been always watching Golden State ever since I was a kid. And then just when, I'll get into that later, but when Curry, Klay Thompson and them came, it was like, yeah, these guys are going to be something special. But I've been a fan of them since a while ago, man.
It's funny how when the names all change, but that team still stays the same, the team name at least, it's just crazy how many years you can think of, I remember, like you said, Tim Hardaway, Run TMC, all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Weber, then
Weber, Jesus.
Being a Wizards fan, basically ours intersect because it's Weber and then Mitch Richmond, except yours went the other direction. But yeah, and then like I said, you've seen all the success. What is your most memorable Golden State Warriors moment?
Oh, man. I think it was when Stephen Curry, he went and he was going against OKC. The moment that made, I think, Kevin Durant say, okay, I got to play with these guys, was when he was dribbling the ball. It was like 4 seconds left on the clock, and he dribbles, and he's a little past half court, and he shoots the ball and hits the three from he was past 40 feet, and he shoots it, and it goes in, and everybody goes crazy. So I think that one, that is my most memorable, man, was when Stephen Curry hit that shot. I was like, this guy's not even human, man. He's an alien. He's got past 20/20 vision. This guy's a beast, man. So that's probably the most memorable time that I can recall. I mean, it's so many with that team and those players that they have.
Expectations going into the season, they were a lottery team for the first time in a very, very, very long time. Steph Curry getting hurt, of course, Klay Thompson still being out, Durant leaving and going to Brooklyn, and so much stuff had changed. What were you hoping for going into this season, especially everything being so out of sorts with the shortened season because of COVID?
Yeah, well, I was hoping that they would be a challenge to everyone. I mean, right now, everybody can kind of pick them apart because Klay is hurt. They got that kid Wiseman who's very good. He's going to be a all-star, I think, in the future. If he stays healthy, I can see him playing with the level of Anthony Davis. He's got to take some time to grow. But yeah, right now, everybody knows their identity right now. They know Steph is the main threat on that team offensively. Draymond is very good at dishing the ball. If he can keep his temper down, they'll be fine. But right now, I think they can make a little noise, but enough to get past certain teams. And right now, other teams are looking really, really good against them. They're missing Klay. I just hope that when he returns, he will be somewhat of his former self. I just hope that because he's had 2 bad injuries, but he's a shooter too. He doesn't do a lot of slashing, but Klay is an underrated defensive player. You just want him to be able to come back and shoot the ball, be that threat to help Curry, move around more fluent. But they definitely need Klay Thompson back, man. If they don't get Klay back, they're not the Warriors without the Splash Brothers. They're not. They won't be the Warriors, believe it or not, without Draymond Green. All 3 of those guys go hand in hand, and they all know how each other plays. So when they get Klay Thompson back, hopefully they'll be able to make some noise. I think they'll look good. I think Wiggins, I don't know, man, it's tough. His shot has gotten better, but I think if they have to trade someone, they could trade him for someone. And I always think they need a big man. They need a steady big man. I think Wiseman coming off the bench is good. I always said I think they made a big mistake getting rid of JaVale McGee. That was the worst thing they could have done because JaVale McGee is underrated. He only had a certain amount of minutes he could play because of his asthma and everything, but he did a lot for that team. That's what I think, man.
Was there a point in the season that you felt like, okay, Golden State's getting into the playoffs, especially after having that one down year, Steph missing most of last year, Klay pretty much missing all of last year?
No. I already knew that they weren't gonna do anything too much, man. They have too many rookie new guys on that team. They don't have the experience. They have two guys with playoff experience and championship experience right now. So, I mean, I think it's good for them to get into it and to be like, okay, yeah, so this is how it's going to be. So this is where we got to get our mindset for next year. But as far as them making any noise right now, no, I think they're muted right now. They can't really do too much right now. Like I said, they're not even a full team. When Clay gets back, you don't know how they're going to congeal together. You don't know. Like I said, you don't know if he's going to be healthy, if he's going to be iffy, if he's not going to be like, he's got to be like at least 80% of himself for them to be any type of successful. And they got to hope and pray to God that Stephen Curry does not get hurt. Because if he gets hurt, it's another done deal. Who are you going to have? Wanamaker? Who are they going to get to replace Steph Curry? Plus, he's not getting any younger. I mean, so now he's getting older another year. He's putting more mileage on his knees, on his ankles, on his wrist. Anything could happen right now. Then when Clay comes back, Clay might be fresh, but Curry might be, I'm getting older now, man. Even though it's a year, a lot can change in a year, man.
I know you're concerned that while if they do make it, they're not going to do much unless there's some type of magic like they knocked off the Mavericks that long time ago with Don Nelson. But what were the biggest concerns about them making the playoffs? I mean, what do you felt like could have held them back in making the playoffs?
Injuries. And it's just, they're just not ready at all. I mean, like, look, who are they a threat to? Lakers, Portland. Heck, I can see you, and then look at Utah right now. They're the number one team in the West right now, man. I mean, they just don't have the firepower yet. When they get their team back, which is Klay Thompson, it's going to be like the return of the Sith, bro. They're going to come back with a vengeance, man. Watch. They're going to be the team that's going to be like, all right, you guys counted us out, even me, because I have doubts right now of why I don't think they're going to even make the playoffs. And I say it's because of injury plagues, and like I just don't think they're mature enough right now, even though they got two guys, as like I said, they've been champions, but they just don't have it right now. Even Steve Kerr looks lost out there right now, man, trying to get these guys together, man. Like he doesn't know what he wants to do. I mean, these guys, their defense have gotten bad. They're too small. Pascal, he's probably like, he kind of replaces Iguodala, but Iguodala, he was very athletic, man. I mean, this guy, Pascal, is pretty good. He's going to get better, but they just need to be on cruise control right now this year. They don't need to try to force getting into the playoffs and then force trying to do so much and then someone gets hurt. That's what I think. I think just sit back and like take notes this year.
And the thing about the West is that at any point, a couple of wins can move you up from 12 to 5th at any point, because the West is very competitive as opposed to the East, where it looks like a disaster. And it's interesting that you never really think about it, how the impact of one player can really change a team. I mean, I guess it's obvious. You can see what LeBron can do to one team, changes the Cavs into a competitive team, changes the Lakers into a good team again. But if Steph's there, then you add Clay. That could be even dangerous. But then again, who knows? They could luck out, miss the playoffs, and hit the lottery again and get the number one pick. And then now you have youth to go with that experience, and then it keeps going. But, again, the lottery is a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is. But they don't have no bench. Who they got good coming off the bench? All those guys are young and they're new. They have no experience coming off the bench. I remember when they had that year when they went 72, I think, and I forget how many losses. I think they went like 72.
I think they went 73-9.
And yeah, and like they had Barbosa, they had David West, they had so many people on that bench, man, that like they could throw at you. There was so much experience on that team then. And they had Livingston, they had so many pieces. I mean, you look at them now, like what's his name? David Latham, the owners, the GMs.
Oh, Joe Latham.
Joe Latham. There we go. Yeah. I'm sorry. I remember that guy was saying, "Oh, we're light years ahead of the league." Well, guess what? I don't know what decisions you guys made, but they made some poor choices somewhere down the road, man. Either they got too comfortable or too cocky. That's the issue. And anytime you get a star like Kevin Durant, I'm sorry, like Draymond, he really, really dropped the ball on that one, man. He was the reason why that team, that dynasty fell apart. They could have at least won another 2-3 rings.
They should have beat Cleveland if he didn't get in trouble and get ejected and get suspended, because they had the momentum. They had the momentum that series. I mean, because all you had to do was win one game, and LeBron wasn't doing it. It took Kyrie Irving to win that game.
Yeah,
I feel like Skip Bayless right now.
Yeah, LeBron provoked Draymond, man. He really did. He didn't have to step over him like that, man. I mean, that's just like I don't know. That's like disrespect, but you got to control your composure. It's a veteran move, man. It's a veteran move. That's all I can say. Hats off to LeBron.
Who do you think the Warriors match up well with if they make the playoffs?
In the West, oh man, probably I would say Sacramento Kings right now, man. That's probably who they would want to see. They don't want to see Portland. They don't want to see Lakers. They don't want to see Utah right now. Although they beat Utah. I don't know. Maybe Utah, man. I think they could, in a best of 7, they probably could win 2 games. And that's it, man. I don't know, because Donovan Mitchell's playing really good, man. And Gobert, I think he's always been a klutz, but he's actually doing pretty well this season. So yeah, I would think they could match up with Utah.
Who's the team that, as a Warriors fan, you don't want to see in the Western Conference playoffs?
The Lakers, you don't want to see. Portland, I don't think you don't want to see. Oh God, man. Who else is out there? Jesus. Dallas.
And you guys are fighting for the last spot to get to end up facing the Jazz.
Jesus, man. I think they can beat Houston. The Rockets. I think the Rockets are fused out. If they get Lakers, if they get Dallas, if they get Utah, any one of those teams, man, even though I think their money, they got a best chance of winning a series against either Utah. No, I mean, it's just hard, man. They just don't have a chance right now. They don't. They're too young and too inexperienced right now. So I know for sure they don't want to see LeBron James right now, because it would be RIP to the Golden State Warriors. As I like to call them, the Golden Mistake Warriors. Because they made so many errors and bad decisions. They're the Golden Mistake Warriors right now, man. 2021 wish they were champions.
And I always see that the Western Conference has always been an arms race. It was either you're going to load up to face Jordan, or you're going to load up to see if you guys can outduel Shaq in the West. Or now with LeBron, it's like, okay, let's build a team to beat LeBron. It always feels like the Western Conference has always been that way, while the Eastern Conference has been a completely different beast.
Yeah, but if you notice LeBron, man, he seems like he just cannot win without having a stacked team. That's just me, man. He has to have a stacked team, bro. Look how they're struggling right now without Anthony Davis. Those guys are role players. So LeBron is leading them. Don't get me wrong. He's doing his thing, but he just seems like he has to have, and which I guess it's the truth. I mean, I look at a guy like Giannis who has nobody. He has nobody right now, and he decided to stick with the Bucks. He's sticking with them. LeBron jumped from Cleveland
to Miami,
down to LA. I mean, back to Cleveland. Now he's going to LA. I mean, come on, man. Like it's just not a good look for him, man. Like even with Curry's only been with Golden State Warriors, man. And they're even when they were great, when they weren't so good, then they got good, and now when they're back down at the bottom again, he's still there.
I'll say this. This is one question off the cuff. The one NBA Finals matchup you always wish you could have seen that we never got. And in your memory, watching the NBA for almost 30 years, what's the one matchup you wish you would have seen?
And this with any time period you're talking about?
It doesn't matter. You could say back before we were born. You could say, any other matchup that you wish we got to see that we were robbed of, or things didn't work out the way they did.
I would love to see Jordan versus his team versus Shaq's and Kobe's team. I would love to see, because the comparison of Kobe Bryant and Jordan is like a quarter right now, heads and tails. They're so neck and neck. Some people would say Kobe, believe it or not, is better than Jordan, man. And Jordan is better than Kobe right now. But I would love to see NBA's final with those two teams, or even the Golden State Warriors team that they had now versus either that LA team or that Jordan team. One of those two. I would have loved to see any of those games, any of them.
See, I was thinking this. Some of you were thinking LeBron versus Kobe. We never got to see that in the finals when it mattered. Because either Dwight Howard got in the way or the Celtics got in the way, or all of a sudden LeBron didn't show up in that one game against Orlando. Or I will say this, I wanted to see the Bulls against the Rockets because that would have been, Olajuwon, masterclass on how you play center. Okay. I mean, that's just me personally, because think about it, Olajuwon made it to the finals 3 times, and everybody forgets about the first time because they got smoked by the Celtics, but in the early 80s. But yeah, to see them against the Bulls, it would have been the dream shake versus Jordan bringing them back because, like I said, Olajuwon would have got his points against those Bulls centers. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, then that would have probably been like a really good game, man. Very, very good game, man. It's like saying, Puff, that you would see the Harlem Shake versus the Dream Shake versus the milkshake. Too many shakes, man. But I think my favorite is the steak and shake.
Going on to the NBA Finals prediction. Who do you have coming out of the East? Who do you have coming out of the West? Who wins the finals and in how many games?
All right. Obviously, with the addition of Blake Griffin, and if everybody get it together and play in unison, I think the Nets is coming out of the East. They're going to beat Milwaukee. Obviously, coming out of the West will be the Lakers. I think those two teams will meet in the playoffs. And I think, and I hope, I would say the Nets in 6.
Oh, wow. Honestly, I feel like they'd be rewarded for bad behavior just because, at least LeBron and them made likable villains that people would cheer for. These guys are like, it's a bunch of head cases. That's all. Every single one of them is a bunch of head cases. All the flat LeBron gets, that Nets team would be the from their bland color scheme and everything else, it's like everything.
Hey, they live in Brooklyn. Hey, man. I mean, I just think they're gonna if it's gonna come down to obviously defense, but they got so much firepower right now, man. They got so much firepower right now, and it's just like, who's gonna stop Durant? I mean, you can match up Durant with LeBron. Okay, they might cancel each other out, but who's gonna stop Harden? Who's going to stop Kyrie? Who's going to stop those two? Pope, what's his name? Pope? They have nobody. Kyle Kuzma. You're not going to – come on, man. Those guys were riding LeBron's coattail, man. At least I think anyway. I just don't think they're going to – although I think Lakers' bench is better than theirs, but they just got too much, man. They can throw so much stuff at the Lakers right now, man. But that remains to be seen until they get to that point,
Yeah, Steve Nash is a new head coach. Who knows how he'll handle the playoffs? It's a completely different thing, especially while you've been a player. It's a completely different story. You can ask Steve Kerr. I mean, Steve Kerr went from role player to being legendary coach overnight. This is you don't think of extremely good superstar players end up becoming these masterful coaches because normally it ends up being a disaster.
Yeah. But then once again, look, man, because look, Mark Jackson built that Warriors team, man. And then just Steve Kerr, they didn't want a brother to have too much. So they put in Steve Kerr, and now all of a sudden Steve Kerr, the greatest coach, they built off the back of Mark Jackson, who was the founder, who told them, hey, man, you need to get that kid, man, Stephen Curry, who was building that team, building them, And now same thing with Steve Nash. I guess he actually got all the pieces together himself. I don't know how it went, but he had so many assets. I mean, Brooklyn didn't have them. So they were like, man, we can grab whoever, I don't think Durant went over there because of Nash. I think Durant went over there to make his own name. He didn't want to live in the Golden State Warriors shadow no more because, as Stephen A. Smith says, it was the weakest move supposedly in the NBA history. And I don't think that, because look what LeBron's been doing all his time.
I mean, Eddie went to Washington with a healthy Beal and healthy Wall. Exactly. That's a different story because everybody's been wanting that for 10 years. But what are ways people can reach out to you on social media?
So they can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Those are the only 2 platforms I'm on right now. I don't have any other type of things besides those 2 platforms I have right now, man.